G'day and welcome back for more Space Engineer Survival. At the end of the last episode, what we were doing was flipping this thing with its catapult arm. And I think this might change it. Taking shared inertia tensor off all of the rotors and then flipping the catapult, we barely move at all. That's nothing. With a little bit of armor, maybe a thruster or two if we really need it, we should be able to use this thing really easily. Like, look at this. It's crazy. It's not jumping off the ground at all. And the arm is actually moving much faster. So I think I should have had it like this all along. So that is much, much better. You may also notice that the lighting appears a bit different. Unfortunately, the underground magical sunshine that kept coming through in the caves seems to be a result of Space Just Got Real no longer working particularly friendly with space engineers. Which sucks, but that's just the way it is. Now, I think it might be almost daylight. So, I think we should... Oh, we should probably get some lights on this thing. That's what we should do. Because I want to drive this up to the catapult testing range and see if we can manage to make this auto-fire some decoys. Because what I really want this thing to be able to do is to auto-fire while I'm then driving the tank in to assault the enemy position. And we should probably see if I can connect this up to somewhere inside, or at least move it closer so that I can load up a few components, since I'm going to need plenty of materials for this test, as I'm going to be throwing away many a merge block. Alrighty, I've loaded up with a little bit of stuff. Not a huge amount, but should be enough to run this test effectively. Let's see if we can get up this... Oh, there's a lot of debris here. If we can get up this hill. We're pretty light and we've got a lot of wheels, so I'm hopeful that we can get enough of them in contact with the ground to be able to make it up here. The nice thing about this wheel setup is that the really jagged areas don't cause us anywhere near as much risk of damage as they do when you've got fewer wheels. And you can see there, we just made it up that bit, suspended between wheels on the front left and the rear right of the vehicle. Let's try and go up this way. I think my steering is a bigger problem than the terrain, because I've got so many wheels and some of them shouldn't be steering and some of them may even be scrubbing against the armor. Let's see if I can push past this wreck. Come on. Come on. I haven't even given the wheels extra power. I should probably do that. Let's just lock there. Come on, get out of here, wreck. You are annoying. Oh dear. I feel stuck. I feel like I'm stuck. I somehow wedged myself? Come on, you good thing. You can do it. I need to know that you can make it up here, because if I want to make a tank with the same wheelbase, I want to know that it's reasonably all-terrain. And it's not going to get snagged ridiculously easily. Yes, there we go. Nice. Obviously, if I was assaulting an enemy position, I would not take terrain like this to do so, because I'm going to get myself wedged and I'm going to become a sitting duck. Get out of here, wreck. Around the corner we go. And easy made it. Look at that. Very nice. Hello, trebuchet. That looks like a giant construction crane. And there we go. We'll stop when we're 800 meters from that thing, or when the cliffside is in front of us. And that's cliffside. Stop here. Now, are we going to flip off the edge if I launch from here? No, seems okay. I've currently got these pistons set to only 1 meters per second, so I can go up to 5 meters per second if, in case I'm not reaching the range that I expect. But I don't want to push it up as high as it can go just from the outset, just in case it does end up flipping me over, which I really don't want. The first thing that I'm thinking I'm going to launch will be pretty simple. It's going to be a merge block, like so. Then we'll have a decoy in the center, right about there. And then, yeah, I'm not going to place the decoy down because I don't want to waste those resources until I'm actually using it. But then we'll have a coating of armor. And I just want to check to see if a back row of armor up here will actually get welded by this welder here. So let's turn this thing on and hopefully don't cook ourselves. Definitely don't want barbecue splitsie today. And it is not welding those blocks. Okay. What about one in front? Yes. Okay. So it will do all of these. That's going to make our projectile a little bit lopsided, but at least we'll be able to get some small amount of armor around the decoy. We could potentially use heavy armor on this. It might do some damage if it hits the enemy base, but also it's going to cost us a lot more. It might make the decoy survive a little bit longer. I'm honestly not sure which way will work out better there, but for the test, it's definitely not worth it. What I want to do now is grab our merge blocks, and it'll be toggle on off, toggle on off, toggle on off, and well, one of those won't be. I'm going to guess that one. Nope. That one? Yeah. Okay. So now we need to create a little blueprint of this thing. Then we'll be able to project it from the projector underneath. Let's grab one of these projectors. Blueprints. Test. Catapult test projectile. There we go. And it looks close to lined up. I think I may just need to move it up and down, but I don't know which way is up and down. That appears to be up and down. Okay. There we go. Like so. Is that lined up properly? Yeah, it is. Let's see if the old projectile will actually link back up if we turn our merge block on now. Yeah, a little bit of jiggling and it got there. Oh, nuts. I did a silly. I let the blueprint go. So, if you're going to do something like this, make sure you check keep projection before you end up covering it all up and then it goes away. Since I'd lined it up and then I'd put all those blocks exactly in the right spot, so it decided that they'd all been welded and then it got rid of the projection. I think some of that probably ended up making sense. So for now, I'm just going to pop the timers. Where's unlikely to change when I start armoring this thing? Probably the back of these will be safe. I think we'll start with 3. I think 3 will be enough for what we're trying to do. So, timer block. Let's go with the first one. So the first one, I think we should probably start it as though, let's put this in the correct position for it, as though we've just launched. So we'll start with that. I don't know why that makes the most sense to me, but it just kind of feels right. So we wanted to set up actions. This first one is going to retract our piston group. So it'll be retract, and it can also turn on the merge blocks. So let's create a group out of our merge blocks. Now we can go to our timer and we can add that group. I could have done each one individually, but I preferred just having this as a group. So it'll be toggle block on. Because in this position, the merge blocks should already be off. So we want the pistons to retract, the merge blocks to turn on, and then the next timer to be triggered with start. Then our next timer, that'll be once we're in the resting position. So it is going to turn off the merge blocks. And then it's going to trigger the next timer. The final timer is going to with our groups. We're going to extend our pistons. And that's it. Oh no, wait, we still need to reset the timer because we need to make sure that we actually keep this thing running in a constant loop. And we should be able to simply have our welders on the whole time. If you wanted to make this more power efficient, you could add the welders into the cycle so that they only turn on when they're needed, but I just figured this is easier. How did we... Oh, right. I should probably get rid of that block that I accidentally welded onto the bottom when I was messing with the projection. So, in terms of timings, this one can probably have a relatively short delay. Let's start with 2 seconds. Same with the one to launch, but this timer, the one that's waiting for the turning off of the merge blocks, it's the one that's waiting for the welding to happen. So I think it will leave at 10 seconds. And if we are currently at our launch position, we should be able to hit start on this one, and then it should run us through our little sequence. So, retracted. Welder's ready to go. And hopefully launching in 10 seconds. Oh, no, merge block detached. Launched. Reset. Welding a new one. Oh, it seems like it might need the time. 10 seconds seems to be too short for this. Okay. Let's stop the timer. Because it seems like this welding of the blocks is going to take a little bit longer than we want. So it was almost welded up, but not quite. Let's try 15 seconds. So we should be able to hit start on this. And then it'll run through its 15 seconds, and we'll see if this one gets completely constructed before launch. And that's going to be our segment that holds us up the most. So probably, rather than holding up at 2 seconds on the other ones, let's drop their delays right down. Oh, and it is falling into the valley now. It's still taking too long. The welder is just too slow. Alright, let's trigger this one now so that we can just start and recycle. At least that part's moving as quickly as it should do. And that's going to get welded up, hopefully. Come on. Come on. Okay, that other projectile's already landed. Getting our final blocks done. They're done. And we're waiting a little bit, but not too long. And then we're launching. Okay. I think that's almost right. Unfortunately, it does look like we're not staying in the air quite long enough, but that could actually be because we're not actually getting our full range. Let's increase our velocity and see if we get better range and better hang time, so the decoys might function for just a little bit longer and hopefully create a shorter break between each volley that gets launched. Because that one seems to be hanging a lot higher. Oh yeah. It's coming down now. We're almost welded up. It's made it over that valley at least. So there's possibly a few seconds gap between each round. We are consistently getting a couple of seconds extra time just resting. Let's try dropping this to, say, 23 seconds? Every second counts in this sort of thing. In fact, we can just watch this and see. Yeah, 23 seconds might be right. As I said, this was going to be a bit of an expensive test because I'm going to have to print off all of these things because I need to know the timing. And I'll possibly have to adjust the time set once I've put a decoy in there, because that may take longer or it may actually be quicker to print. I don't know. But I am very happy with this auto launching. It is working quite nicely. And we will stop, because we are done with that particular test. Alrighty. It's time for us to return to base. See, oops. Don't drive over the sandbags. Jeez. Come on. Now, I do want to make this thing look a lot more attractive than it currently does. It is desperately in need of a coat of paint. And the armor blocks that I place on here should add just enough mass that we don't even flip at all, I hope. Since we're barely budging with the current setup as it is, so I'm pretty happy. I wish I'd realized that last time, although I have to admit, it was kind of fun to flip this thing. Downhill should be easier. Don't want to get too excited though. I'm deliberately leaning off to one side here because I think I'll get wedged in the middle if I go dead down the center of this. Plus I'm kind of on a flatter surface, even though it's a highly angled surface, but I'll be able to get more wheels in contact with the ground as I go through, and it worked. Good stuff. Now, let's go park on the bridge, because I want to do something different with the trailer hitch for this. Because I'm going to be setting this up to be towed by a tank, but then deployed separately, I might, instead of having a hitch that's fixed out a massive distance, put one on a few pistons. I think maybe even a pair of pistons will be enough to give us enough clearance so that we can make as tight a turns as these vehicles are capable of anyway. Let's grab a few motors from the back and we'll get an idea, because I always find it a bit difficult to estimate the distance on these things when I'm just placing them down. I much prefer to extend them out. I think that'll be probably not enough. Ow. Oh, I just slightly misjudged that landing. I thought I was perfectly safe to land from that height. I was wrong. Now, I also don't want this to be so long that we can bottom out in the middle section, but yeah. I suppose I don't really need to be able to park them together. I'm happy to fly back and forth to move each one independently. What I worry about is that the tank's going to be made of heavier stuff than this, so it's more likely to have difficulty going up those hills. I don't want to drive the catapult there to get in position, fly all the way back, then hop in the tank, drive it a long, circuitous way round, going down into the ice lake, back up, and all sorts of ridiculous directions. That's just going to take a long time. I really do want to make this so that I can move both vehicles at the same time. Retract these back down, because even retracted, these are sticking out a fair bit, like a bit of a Pinocchio nose. That might actually be alright. I might be able to live with that. And then I can adjust these pistons' length based on whether I need to jackknife and turn tightly. Yeah, I might just go with simplicity for once. Although I did just stack 3 pistons on each other and I'm about to put a bunch of rotors on it, so how simple really is it? Simplicity is a lie. Now that we know that this thing functions in the way it was intended, we can launch stuff, we can print it, we can launch it again, over and over again, completely unsupervised. I think it might be time to try and make this thing look at least complete, if not maybe even vaguely attractive. It's pretty boxy and it's probably going to remain pretty boxy, but we'll see what I can do to try and make it look a little less boring than just a plain old brick. A few people had suggested, and I thought it would actually be necessary, but it doesn't look like it, that I build a bunch of merge blocks or thrusters or heavy armor blocks onto this. But since I realized that I totally messed up by putting the shared inertia tensor on, I don't think I'll need to, and I think we'll have some advantages in keeping this relatively light, in that we were able to get up that hill because we didn't need to have every single wheel in contact and have everything at full power to even get up the slightest little bump. So let's get going with our designing. The catapult is very close to finished. There's just this area at the back that I'm still not 100% sure what I'm going to do with, but we have got a hookup for the tank, which means we can start building it because we'll know exactly how to set up for that attachment. I'm pretty confident that we'll be able to get this little catapult everywhere we want to get it to. We may have to take some fairly circuitous routes to get there, but it's managed to be pretty nimble in that it's gotten up that slope that very few of my other wheeled vehicles have managed. I think the tick has to fly to get up that area. So I'm kind of impressed for something that's really full of everything that should go clang. So next time we're going to go and we're going to build our tank, which will be based off the same sort of wheelbase. It's pretty much going to be something bristling with Gatling turrets. The first round, I'm going to leave room for a rotor cannon, but I'm not actually going to build one. The idea behind that is I think it'll be potentially disastrous having one on there, but I want to see if the decoys from the catapult can be enough to prevent most damage to my tank, and if they can, then having a rotor cannon on it is well and truly possible and potentially survivable. The nice thing about them is they can output a huge amount of damage if you can set them up right, and that's what I'm kind of looking forward to in adding one of them. But I'm only going to do it if it proves safe, because having rotors fly off in the middle of battle and take out half of your tank is probably less than ideal. So there's building the tank and plenty more to come, and I will see you then.